Welcome to the channel, everyone. Today I'm gonna do a brief market review. We'll talk about crypto, the new spending bill, my previous video, and then trade setups on ETH and altcoins. Now, as you know, passed this big spending bill in the US, which I'll pull up a picture of Ray Dalio's analysis. He basically says, summarized, that this could lead to higher taxes, inflation, lower interest rates, and also a financial crisis, economic instability, bear market, and damage to the dollar's strength. Now, money printing, however, is good for markets, so let's see what we can make of this. The S&P still looks beautiful and at new highs. The dollar is still down and dropping. And in my previous video, I showed you a setup, which I'm gonna pull up right now. The exact setup is right here. So the trade idea overall turned out well, although at the time I thought it was early, and so I didn't do a FOMO entry that was here. Now the price actually kept pulling back, and in fact the stop loss would have been too small, but overall the idea worked. Bitcoin went to, well, all the way to 110. Now let's look at ETH, which comes second in market cap, of course. I'm gonna reduce the noise here a little bit and show you what I think is gonna happen. Of course, none of this is financial advice, but looking at ETH, we have to consider a few things. There's also an ETH ETF, just like there's one for Bitcoin. BlackRock and all these funds are also buying ETH, not just BTC. So ETH is still hovering in the middle, and to get a picture of what it might do, we can look at a few things. First of all, I'll show you. I have this blue line, which is the 200-week simple moving average, and basically ETH ranged and chopped around for a little bit, and then it pulled back, and now it's back up above again. I also added a fixed range volume profile. This looks at the volume in this range, and what I would tell you is that we obviously came out of this range, and then we might be coming back into it. So the thing I would look at is this high volume area, as you can see. I'm gonna mark it. It's around here, so I'm not telling you to do anything, but I would be bullish above this zone. Not here, but slightly above. So if ETH doesn't reject here at the bottom of the range, and in fact it can climb up to about 2800-ish, then the next target I would look for is this POC, the point of control. This is the point in the range where the most trading happened. This is the point with the highest volume. So if ETH confirms, we're looking at a potentially 20% move, and then we can go from there. And to further gauge ETH's position, we can also look at things like ETH BTC, which is ETH paired against Bitcoin, and this thing's down, obviously, but there are certain signs that it could start coming up. Not very strong yet, but it could be close to a bottom. And same thing, slightly similar chart, very similar in fact, but there's a chart called ETH dominance. What percent of the market ETH dominates? And again, this has certain signs that later it could start coming up. This is a free version of Market Cipher. You don't have to use this specifically. Like last video I had an RSI and it's perfectly fine. But again, we see signs that it doesn't look too bad, so we need to wait for our confirmation, and then we can do things. And the nice thing about this is that if you don't want to buy ETH, you can bet on ETH well, basically ETH leveraged bets. These are altcoins that are on the ETH chain. Things like Brett here. Again, this was covered in the previous video. Doesn't look bad at all. Also Brett, which is on the base chain, and it's the biggest coin on the base chain. So that's how you can bet on ETH on leverage, basically. But you can find any other coin that looks like this. And also I wanted to cover Totals 3. These are coins excluding Bitcoin and ETH. And looking at the price structure, again, doesn't look bad at all. It looks like we got a trigger wave ready to set up. And we put in a low, and then this higher low. So as long as, and now some people might draw a line calling this a breakout, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. The point is that if we can keep this bullish structure, then we can potentially expect higher highs. Okay, so I don't know how far it can go, but overall it doesn't look too bad to me. So that was a short coverage for today. Again, I'm a swing trader, so not much has changed so far. If I do see any change, of course I'm gonna make a video. But thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.